They say Chicago summers are short. So was my marriage, apparently. I'm Graham Doyle, and I should have seen it coming. 41 years old, finance analyst at Morrison & Associates, married to the most ambitious woman in advertising. Audra worked at Delanova, the kind of agency that charged clients $100,000 to rebrand their coffee shops as artisanal beverage experiences. The morning everything changed started like any other Tuesday. Coffee brewing, Ben shuffling around upstairs getting ready for school, and Audra checking her phone like she was monitoring the stock market. Late night again? I asked, noting the faint scent of wine still on her breath from whatever networking event had kept her out until midnight. Client presentation ran long, she said without looking up. Her phone buzzed. The name Colin flashed on the screen before she quickly flipped it face down. Colin Fletcher, vice president at Delanova. Married, 2 kids, the kind of guy who wore expensive suits to hide his expanding waistline and used words like synergy without irony. Anything important? I asked. Just work stuff. You know how it is. I knew how it was. All right. 3 months of work stuff that kept her out past 11, brought her home smelling like wine and expensive cologne that definitely wasn't mine. 3 months of calendar gaps she couldn't quite explain, and Uber charges to parts of town where Delanova had no clients. Dad, can you drive me today? Ben appeared in the kitchen, backpack slung over his shoulder. 16 years old and already showing signs of inheriting his mother's sharp wit and my tendency toward sarcasm. Mom's car not working, I asked. Mom's car is fine, Audra said, finally looking up. I just have an early meeting. With Colin? The question slipped out before I could stop it. Her eyes flashed. With the Morrison Industries team, the pharmaceutical campaign, the one that could make or break my promotion? Right. The promotion she'd been chasing for 6 months, the one that required so much after-hours collaboration with the VP of Business Development. Sorry, I said. Just curious. Ben rolled his eyes. At 16, he had a finely tuned radar for parental tension. I'll take the L, he said, grabbing a banana from the counter. After they both left, I sat in the kitchen with my coffee and did what I'd been doing for weeks, trying to convince myself I was imagining things. The late nights, the secretive phone calls, the way she'd started dressing differently, more expensive clothes, more attention to makeup, a new perfume I'd never smelled before. My phone rang. Janine from work. Graham, you sound terrible, she said without preamble. Janine Walsh, divorced 3 years ago, senior accountant, and the closest thing I had to a best friend at Morrison & Associates. Thanks for the pep talk. I'm serious. You've been walking around like someone stole your lunch money. What's going on? I found myself telling her about the late nights, the wine breath, the mysterious Colin calls. Janine listened without interrupting, which was unusual for her. Honey, she said when I finished, you need to document everything. Times, dates, receipts, everything. I think you need to protect yourself, and Ben. That afternoon, I started keeping a journal. Tuesday, June 13th. Audra home at 11:47 p.m. Wine on breath. Phone call from Colin at 11:52 p.m. lasting 14 minutes. Wednesday, June 14th. Claims dinner meeting with pharmaceutical client, but Uber receipt shows pickup from Millennium Park area at 10:30 p.m. The evidence piled up like snow in January. Restaurant charges for 2 at places she'd never mentioned. Hotel bar receipts, a credit card statement showing purchases at a lingerie boutique I'd never heard of. Friday night, she came home at 12:15 a.m. with a story about a crisis meeting that ran late. Her lipstick was gone, her hair slightly mussed, and she smelled like expensive whiskey. How was the crisis? I asked. Exhausting. Colin had to pull in the whole team to salvage the Peterson account. Must have been some meeting. She looked at me sharply. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Just that you've been having a lot of late meetings lately. It's called ambition, Graham. Some of us are trying to advance our careers. The dig stung because it was partially true. While Audra climbed the ladder at Delanova, I'd been content to stay at my analyst position, comfortable with my salary and my routine. But comfortable didn't pay for Ben's college fund or the mortgage on our house in Lincoln Park. I know you're working hard, I said carefully. Do you? Because lately it feels like you're questioning everything I do. I'm not questioning anything. Good, because this promotion could change everything for us, for Ben's future. She went upstairs to shower, and I sat alone in the kitchen, staring at my notebook full of times and dates and receipts. Maybe I was paranoid. Maybe she really was just working hard, networking with colleagues, building relationships that would advance her career. But when her phone buzzed on the counter where she'd left it, and Colin's name appeared again with a message that started with, "Tonight was incredible," I knew I wasn't paranoid at all. I was just married to a liar. Monday morning brought a performance worthy of an Academy Award. Audra made pancakes, Ben's favorite, and chatted about weekend plans like she hadn't spent Saturday night texting someone who wasn't her husband. "We should do something as a family," she said, flipping pancakes with practiced ease. "Maybe Navy Pier? It's been forever since we've done the tourist thing." Ben looked skeptical. "Since when do you like Navy Pier?" "I like spending time with my family," she said, shooting me a meaningful look. "Work's been crazy, but things should calm down after this Peterson presentation." The Peterson presentation. Her excuse for everything lately. "When is that again?" I asked. "Thursday. Colin's been working around the clock to get the numbers right." Colin again. Always Colin. That afternoon, I called Janine from my office. "I need the name of your lawyer," I said without preamble. "Graham, are you sure about this?" "She's having an affair. I have receipts, timestamps, everything." Silence on the other end. Then, Terry Vaughn. He specializes in infidelity cases. Fair warning, though. He's expensive, and he doesn't mess around. Terry Vaughn's office occupied the 20th floor of a downtown high-rise, all glass and steel and intimidation. The man himself looked like he'd stepped out of a legal thriller. Silver hair, sharp suit, eyes that missed nothing. "Mr. Doyle," he said, gesturing to a chair across from his massive desk, "Janine Walsh speaks highly of you. She also mentioned you might need my particular expertise." I laid out everything. The late nights, the receipts, the phone calls, the credit card statements. Terry listened without interruption, occasionally making notes on a yellow legal pad. "How long has this been going on?" he asked when I finished. 3 months that I can document. Probably longer." "And you want what exactly? A quick divorce? Custody of your son?" "I want her to understand that actions have consequences." Terry smiled, and it wasn't entirely pleasant. "Mr. Doyle, I like you already. Let me ask you something. How important is your wife's career to her?" "Everything. She'd sacrifice anything for that promotion." "Good, because I have some ideas about how we can make this interesting." He outlined a plan that was elegant in its simplicity. No illegal surveillance, no private investigators, no dramatic confrontations, just strategic use of public records, social media, and the one thing that destroyed careers faster than anything else in the modern world: gossip. "The key," Terry explained, "is making sure everyone knows without you being the obvious source. Let the story tell itself." That evening, Audra announced another late meeting. "Peterson presentation prep," she said, checking her reflection in the hallway mirror. "Colin wants to run through the numbers one more time." "Of course he does." She paused, lipstick halfway to her mouth. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing, just that Colin seems very thorough." "He's a perfectionist. That's why he's VP." "Right. Well, don't let me keep you from your numbers." She stared at me for a long moment, then grabbed her purse and keys. "I'll be late. Don't wait up." After she left, I opened my laptop and began implementing Terry's plan. Phase 1. Documentation. I created a detailed timeline of every suspicious evening, cross-referenced with her credit card statements and social media posts. The pattern was obvious once you knew what to look for. Phase 2. Social engineering. Delanova, like most modern companies, thrived on internal gossip. Kendra, Audra's assistant, had always been friendly when I'd visited the office. A quick LinkedIn search revealed she'd been passed over for a promotion last month, a promotion that had gone to someone in Colin's department. I crafted a careful email, ostensibly from a concerned spouse worried about his wife's workload. Nothing accusatory, just questions about whether all these late meetings were necessary, whether there might be more efficient ways to handle client presentations. I sent it to Kendra's personal email address. Her response came within an hour. "Mr. Doyle, you might want to ask your wife about the Marriott receipts in her expense reports. Just saying." Phase 3. Amplification. Delanova published a weekly internal newsletter, full of company updates, employee spotlights, and a gossip column euphemistically called Water Cooler Wisdom. The column was anonymous, supposedly written by different employees each week. I knew from Audra's complaints that the newsletter editor loved juicy stories about office relationships. A carefully worded tip about after-hours collaboration between certain unnamed executives might find its way into print. Wednesday evening, Audra came home at 10:30, earlier than usual, but still smelling like wine. "How was the Peterson prep?" I asked. "Fine. Good. We're ready for tomorrow." She seemed nervous, distracted. Her phone kept buzzing, but she didn't check it in front of me. "Everything okay?" "Just tired. This whole campaign has been exhausting." Thursday morning, the Delanova newsletter hit inboxes company-wide. The water cooler wisdom section included a blind item about certain married executives who've been burning the midnight oil together, if you know what we mean. Audra's face when she read it over her coffee was priceless. "This is ridiculous," she muttered, but her hands were shaking slightly. "What's ridiculous?" "Office gossip. People have nothing better to do than make up stories." "What kind of stories?" She looked at me sharply. "Nothing important. Just people being petty?" Her phone rang. Colin's name on the screen. "I have to take this," she said, stepping into the next room. I couldn't hear the words, but I could hear the tone, urgent, worried, angry. When she came back, her face was pale. "Everything all right?" I asked innocently. "Fine. Just some confusion about the Peterson numbers. Colin's handling it." But Colin wasn't handling it. According to Kendra's follow-up email, HR had called both Colin and Audra in for a meeting about maintaining appropriate professional boundaries. The Peterson presentation had been postponed pending a review of the account management structure. That evening, Audra didn't mention any late meetings. She came straight home, barely spoke during dinner, and spent the evening pacing around the house like a caged animal. "You sure you're okay?" I asked. "I'm fine, Graham. Just work stuff." "Anything I can help with?" She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Unless you can make office gossips mind their own business, no." "Office gossip can be vicious," I agreed, especially when there's even a grain of truth to it. She went very still. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing specific, just that rumors usually start somewhere." "Are you implying something?" "I'm not implying anything. I'm just saying that the best way to stop gossip is to make sure there's nothing to gossip about." She stared at me for a long moment, and I could see the wheels turning in her head, wondering how much I knew, how much I suspected, how much trouble she was really in. "I think I'll go to bed early," she said finally. "Good idea. You've been working so hard lately. All those late nights must be exhausting." As she headed upstairs, her phone buzzed again. This time, she didn't even glance at it. Progress. The next morning brought panic disguised as indignation. Audra stormed around the kitchen, coffee mug in hand, ranting about office politics and malicious rumors. "It's character assassination," she declared. "Someone's trying to sabotage my promotion." "Who would do that?" I asked, buttering my toast with careful attention. "Could be anyone. Janet from Creative has always resented my success. Or maybe someone from Peterson's team. They never wanted to work with Delanova anyway. Seems like a lot of effort just to cause trouble." You don't understand corporate politics, Graham. People will do anything to tear down someone who's succeeding." Ben wandered into the kitchen, earbuds in, oblivious to the tension. He grabbed a granola bar and headed for the door. "Have a good day at school," Audra called after him, her voice artificially bright. Ben waved without turning around. "A smart kid?" After Audra left, no mention of late meetings today, I called Terry Vaughn. "Phase 1 is working," I reported. She's rattled. "Good. Time for Phase 2. How's your relationship with anyone else at her company?" "I know a few people. Marty in IT, a couple of folks from the Christmas parties." "Perfect. We need to expand the narrative. Make it clear this isn't just gossip. There's substance behind it." Terry's plan was elegant. Instead of making accusations, we'd simply ask questions. Concerned questions from a spouse who'd noticed changes in his wife's behavior. Questions that would prompt people to look more closely at patterns they might have dismissed before. I started with Marty, a guy I'd known for 3 years through company social events. He was the kind of IT person who knew everything that happened in the office because he had to fix everyone's computer problems. "Hey Marty, weird question," I said when I called him that afternoon. "Audra's been working really late lately, like midnight late. Is that normal for the Peterson account?" "Peterson? That wrapped up last week, man. Pretty straightforward campaign, actually." "Huh," she said they were doing presentation prep through Thursday. Silence on the other end. Then, "Graham, I probably shouldn't say this, but there's been talk around the office about Audra and Colin. Nothing definite, just talk." "What kind of talk?" "Late meetings that aren't on anyone's calendar, expense reports for dinners that weren't client meetings. Look, I like Audra, but people notice things." "What kind of things?" "Colin's been staying late a lot. Same nights Audra works late. And last week, Jenny from accounting saw them at Gibson's. You know, the steakhouse. They weren't discussing business, if you know what I mean." I knew what he meant. That evening, I implemented Phase 2. Instead of confronting Audra directly, I started asking innocent questions about her work. How was the Peterson campaign going? Was Colin happy with the results? Did she think the late meetings were really necessary? Each question made her a little more defensive, a little more elaborate in her explanations. "Colin's very hands-on," she said over dinner. He wants to be involved in every detail. Sounds exhausting for both of you. It's what separates good agencies from great ones, attention to detail. Right. And all those dinners at expensive restaurants, that's attention to detail too? She froze with her fork halfway to her mouth. What dinners? The ones on the credit card statement. Gibson's, Alinea, that new place in River North. Must be nice having clients who appreciate fine dining. Those were legitimate business expenses. Of course they were. I'm just impressed by how much FaceTime Colin requires. Most VPs I know prefer email. Colin believes in personal relationships. I bet he does. The next day, Friday, brought the breakthrough I'd been waiting for. Kendra called my office directly. Mr. Doyle, I think you should know. HR called Audra and Colin in for another meeting this morning. Together, and afterward I heard Colin on the phone with his lawyer. His lawyer? Divorce lawyer. I recognized the name from when my sister went through her split. Mr. Doyle, I think you should protect yourself. That afternoon, I made an appointment with Terry Vaughn for Monday morning. But first, I had a weekend to get through. Saturday morning, Audra announced she was going shopping with her sister. She'd been avoiding me since our dinner conversation, and I could see the stress in the tight lines around her eyes. Want company? I offered. No, it's just girl stuff. Boring. Okay, Ben and I will find something to do. After she left, Ben looked up from his cereal. Dad, are you and Mom okay? 16-year-old kids don't miss much. Why do you ask? She's been weird lately, jumpy, and you've been asking a lot of questions about her work. Just trying to stay involved in her career. Ben gave me a look that said he wasn't buying it, but he didn't push. Want to go see a movie or something? We spent the afternoon at the multiplex, watching some superhero thing that required zero emotional investment. It was exactly what I needed. 2 hours of not thinking about my marriage falling apart. That evening, Audra came home with shopping bags from stores I'd never heard of. Expensive stores based on the logos. Successful trip? I asked. Found a few things for work, new suit for client presentations. Business must be good if you're shopping at Nordstrom. I deserve nice things, Graham. I work hard for them. You certainly do work hard. She went upstairs to try on her purchases, and I sat in the living room, listening to her move around overhead. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Check your wife's Instagram stories from today. I didn't follow Audra on social media. We'd agreed early in our marriage that we saw enough of each other without needing digital updates, but I could still view her public posts. Her Instagram story from that afternoon showed her at lunch. Not shopping with her sister. Lunch at a trendy restaurant downtown. The photo showed 2 wine glasses, 2 plates, and in the background, just barely visible, a man's hand wearing a wedding ring that wasn't mine. The timestamp was 1:30 p.m. The location tag said, Catch 35. I screenshotted everything. Sunday passed in tense normalcy. Audra made breakfast, we read the paper, Ben practiced guitar in his room. But underneath the domestic routine, I could feel the foundations shifting. That evening, as we were cleaning up after dinner, Audra's phone rang. Colin's name on the screen, as usual. This time, instead of stepping into another room, she declined the call. Not important? I asked. It can wait until Monday. That's new? She looked at me sharply. What's new? Colin calling on Sunday. Usually you take his calls. He's probably just checking on the Morrison Industries proposal. I thought Peterson was the big priority. That's done. We're moving on to Morrison Industries now. Ah, new client, new late nights? Probably. It's a complicated account. I nodded sympathetically. Well, at least you'll have Colin to help you through all those complicated details. She went very still. Graham, what exactly are you trying to say? This was it. The moment I'd been building toward for weeks. I'm not trying to say anything, Audra. I'm saying it directly. I know about the affair. The color drained from her face. What affair? The one with Colin Fletcher. The late nights that aren't client meetings. The dinners at restaurants where you're not discussing business. The hotel bar receipts. The Instagram photos with mystery hands. Should I continue? She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Graham, you're being paranoid. Am I? Because I have timestamps, credit card statements, and witness accounts that suggest otherwise. Witness accounts? People talk, Audra. Especially when 2 married colleagues start having regular after-hours meetings that aren't on anyone's calendar. She sank into a chair, her face pale. It's not what you think. Then explain what it is. Colin and I, we've been working closely together, maybe too closely, but it's not an affair. What would you call it? A mistake, a friendship that got complicated. Complicated enough that his wife doesn't know about it? Her eyes widened. How do you know about his wife? Because I've been doing my homework, Audra, just like you've been doing Colin. The crude joke hit its mark. She flinched like I'd slapped her. This conversation is over, she said, standing up. No, it's not. We're just getting started. But she was already heading for the stairs. I'm not discussing this anymore tonight. Fine. But we will discuss it, along with lawyers, custody arrangements, and asset division. She stopped at the bottom of the stairs. You're threatening me? I'm informing you. There's a difference. She went upstairs without another word, and I heard the bedroom door slam. I sat in the kitchen for a long time, staring at my phone. The screenshot from her Instagram was still there, along with all the other evidence I'd collected over the past month. Monday morning was going to be very interesting. Monday arrived with the subtlety of a fire alarm. Audra came downstairs dressed for battle, her most expensive suit, perfect makeup, the kind of armor she wore to important client meetings. We need to talk, she said, pouring coffee with hands that only trembled slightly. I'm listening. What you said last night about lawyers and custody. You can't be serious. Why not? Because we have a family, Graham, a son, a life together. Had. Past tense. She sat across from me at the kitchen table, the same table where we'd shared breakfast for 8 years. It doesn't have to be past tense. People make mistakes. Marriages survive them. Do they survive months of lies? I never lied to you. Right. You just told me you were working late when you were having dinner with another man. You just claimed client meetings when you were drinking wine at hotel bars. You just said you were shopping with your sister when you were having lunch dates. But technically, you never lied. Her composure cracked slightly. How long have you known? Long enough to document everything. Document? I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshots, the timeline, the credit card statements I'd photographed. Her face went white. You've been spying on me? I've been paying attention. There's a difference. Ben appeared in the doorway, backpack over his shoulder, and immediately picked up on the tension. Everything okay? He asked. Fine, Audra said quickly. Just discussing work stuff. Ben looked between us, clearly not buying it, but nodded. I'll catch the bus today. After he left, Audra turned back to me. We can't do this in front of Ben. Then maybe you should have thought about Ben before you started your networking sessions with Colin. Stop calling it that. What should I call it? An emotional affair? A professional relationship that crossed boundaries? Help me out here, Audra. She buried her face in her hands. It just happened, Graham. We were working late, spending a lot of time together, and things got complicated. When did it start? March, maybe February. I don't know exactly. 4 months. 4 months of lying to my face every single day. I didn't mean for it to happen. But you meant for it to continue. You made a choice every single time you met him, every time you lied about where you were, every time you came home smelling like wine and told me you were working. Tears started down her cheeks, smearing her perfect makeup. What do you want me to say? I want you to say you understand that this marriage is over. Graham, please? I want you to say you understand that I'm filing for divorce. We can work through this. No, we can't. And you know why? Because even now, even caught red-handed with evidence spread out on the table, you're still trying to minimize it, still calling it a mistake instead of a choice. She wiped her eyes, leaving black streaks on her fingers. What about Ben? What about him? He needs both his parents. He needs parents he can trust. Right now, that's just me. I stood up and grabbed my keys. I'm going to work. When I get home tonight, I want you to be ready to discuss practical matters. Where you're going to live, custody schedules, asset division. The emotional stuff is over. Graham, wait. But I was already out the door. Terry Vaughn's office felt different that morning. Less intimidating, more like a war room where I was finally fighting back instead of just getting hit. She admitted it? Terry asked after I filled him in. Partially. Called it a mistake, said it just happened. Still trying to control the narrative. They always do. How do you want to proceed? I want her to understand that actions have consequences. Real consequences. Terry smiled that predatory smile again. Then let's make sure she gets a complete education. The plan he outlined was comprehensive. File for divorce immediately, citing adultery with documented evidence. Request primary custody of Ben based on Audra's unstable behavior and poor judgment. Freeze joint accounts to prevent asset hiding. And most importantly, make sure the story became public knowledge in ways that would impact her professionally. The key, Terry explained, is making this expensive for her in every possible way, financially, professionally, socially. People need to understand that betraying their families has a cost. That afternoon, while Audra was presumably at work dealing with her own crisis, I began implementing Terry's strategy. Joint bank accounts were frozen pending divorce proceedings. I changed the locks on the house, perfectly legal since my name was on the deed. I contacted Ben's school to inform them of the family situation and ensure that only I could make decisions about his education or welfare. Then I made the call I'd been dreading. Ben, it's Dad. Can you talk? I'm in study hall. What's up? I need to tell you something, and I want you to hear it from me first. Your mom and I are getting divorced. Silence on the other end. Then, because of the affair? The kid was too smart for his own good. You knew? I suspected. She's been acting weird for months, and you've been asking all those questions about her work. Plus, she's been getting a lot of texts from someone named Colin. I'm sorry you had to figure it out on your own. Are you okay, Dad? The question caught me off guard. Here I was, worried about how Ben would handle the news, and he was checking on me. I'm angry, I said honestly. But I'll be okay. We'll be okay. What happens now? Now we figure out how to move forward. You'll stay with me in the house. Your mom will find her own place. We'll work out a schedule so you can see her regularly. What if I don't want to see her regularly? That stopped me cold. Ben, she lied to us, Dad, for months. She looked us in the face every day and lied. She's still your mother. Yeah, well, maybe she should have remembered that before she decided to hook up with some guy from work. The bitterness in his voice broke my heart. This was exactly what I'd been trying to avoid. Ben getting caught in the middle, forced to choose sides, having his relationship with his mother damaged by her choices. We'll figure it out, I said, one day at a time. When I got home that evening, Audra's car was in the driveway. I found her in the kitchen, surrounded by legal documents and tissues. You froze our accounts, she said without looking up. I protected our assets. I can't get into the house. You changed the locks. I secured my residence. Your residence? This is my home too. Was. Past tense. She finally looked at me and I could see she'd been crying. Graham, this is insane. We can work this out without lawyers and courts and all this legal drama. No, we can't, because working it out requires trust, and you destroyed that. So you're just going to throw away 8 years of marriage? I'm not throwing anything away. You already threw it away. I'm just cleaning up the mess. Ben walked in from school, took one look at the scene, and headed straight for the stairs. Ben, wait, Audra called after him. He paused on the bottom step. What? I want you to know that whatever's happening between your dad and me, it doesn't change how much I love you. Doesn't it? He asked. Because if you loved us, you wouldn't have been sneaking around with some other guy for 4 months. Ben, did you think about me when you were lying about where you were? Did you think about Dad? Or were you just thinking about yourself? Audra's face crumpled. It's complicated. No, it's not. It's actually pretty simple. You cheated, you lied, you got caught. Now you want everyone to feel sorry for you because there are consequences. He went upstairs and his bedroom door closed with a definitive click. Audra turned to me, tears streaming down her face. You turned him against me. I didn't have to. You did that yourself. He's 16 years old. He doesn't understand. He understands that his mother chose another man over her family. He understands that you lied to his face every single day. He understands that you're more upset about getting caught than you are about what you did. That's not true, isn't it? Because you still haven't apologized, not once. You've explained, you've justified, you've minimized, but you haven't said you're sorry. She opened her mouth, then closed it. That's what I thought, I said. You're not sorry you did it. You're sorry you got caught. I handed her a business card. Terry Vaughn. He's my attorney. Have your lawyer call him to work out the details. Graham, please. You need to leave now. You can stay at your sister's or a hotel or wherever Colin's staying, since I'm guessing his wife found out too. But you can't stay here. She gathered up her papers with shaking hands. This isn't over. Yes, it is. The marriage is over. The lies are over. The only thing left is paperwork. After she left, I sat in the kitchen for a long time, staring at the empty coffee cups and crumpled tissues she'd left behind. Upstairs, I could hear Ben playing guitar, something angry and discordant that matched my mood perfectly. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Saw the news about Delanova. Colin Fletcher resigned today. Thought you should know. I smiled for the first time in months. Consequences were a beautiful thing. 2 weeks later, everything came to a head on a Thursday that started ordinary and ended with sirens. The morning brought news that Colin Fletcher's wife had filed for divorce, citing adultery and seeking half of everything he owned. According to Kendra, who'd become my unofficial source of Della Nova gossip, Colin was staying in a downtown hotel and drinking heavily. Audra, meanwhile, had been suspended from her position pending an investigation into inappropriate workplace relationships. The Peterson account had been reassigned. Her promotion was officially off the table. "She's been calling in favors all week," Kendra reported during our coffee meeting. "Trying to find another position, but word gets around in this industry. Nobody wants to hire someone with her reputation." "What reputation is that?" "Untrustworthy, unprofessional, the kind of person who puts personal relationships ahead of client interests." It was exactly what Terry had predicted. In the advertising world, reputation was everything, and Audra's was now radioactive. That afternoon, my phone rang. Audra. "We need to talk," she said without preamble. "We have lawyers for that. Not about the divorce, about Ben." "What about Ben?" "He won't return my calls. He won't see me. You've completely turned him against me." "I haven't turned him against anyone. He's making his own decisions based on your behavior. He's 16 years old. Old enough to understand when someone he trusted has betrayed that trust." Silence on the other end. Then, "I want to see him? Tonight." "Then call him yourself and ask?" "I tried. He won't answer." "Maybe that should tell you something." "Graham, please. I know I made mistakes, but he's my son." "Then act like his mother instead of like someone who put her own selfish desires ahead of her family's well-being." "I want to come to the house, tonight, to talk to him." "The house is off limits. Court order, remember?" "Then I'll wait outside until he comes out." Something in her tone made me nervous. "Audra, don't do anything stupid." "Stupid? Like trusting my husband to be reasonable during a difficult time? Like harassing a minor child who doesn't want to see you." She hung up. I immediately called Ben. "Where are you?" "School, jazz band practice." "Why?" "Your mom might try to approach you when you get home. If she does, don't engage. Just call me." "Is she okay?" She sounded weird when she called earlier. "Define okay." "Like mentally stable okay." That was the question, wasn't it? How far was Audra willing to go to salvage her relationship with Ben? How desperate was she becoming as her world fell apart piece by piece? I found out at 7:30 that evening. Ben had taken the bus home and was in his room doing homework when I heard a car door slam in the driveway. Through the window, I saw Audra getting out of her sedan, moving with the kind of determined stride that meant trouble. She rang the doorbell. When I didn't answer, she rang it again. Then she started knocking. "Graham, I know you're in there. I just want to talk to Ben." "Go away, Audra. You're violating the restraining order." "There's no restraining order against seeing my own son. There's a court order specifying supervised visitation only. This isn't supervised." The knocking got louder. "Ben? Ben, can you hear me? It's Mom." Upstairs, I heard Ben's bedroom door close. "He doesn't want to see you," I called through the door. "Let me hear that from him." "You heard it when he wouldn't take your calls." The knocking stopped. For a moment, I thought she'd given up. Then I heard the scrape of metal on metal. She was trying to use her old key on the new locks. "Audra, stop. You're going to get yourself arrested." "For trying to see my son?" "For trespassing and violating court orders." More scraping, then a frustrated curse as she realized the key wouldn't work. I was reaching for my phone to call the police when I heard the sound of breaking glass. She'd thrown a rock through the living room window. "Audra, what the hell? I want to see my son!" she screamed. The front door rattled as she tried to reach through the broken window to unlock it from the inside, but the new deadbolt required a key from both sides, Terry's suggestion for exactly this kind of situation. "Ben," she called. "Ben, please, I just want to explain." I heard footsteps on the stairs. Ben appeared, his face pale but determined. "I'm calling the cops," he said, holding up his phone. "Wait," I said. "Maybe we could still de-escalate this." I opened the door, keeping the security chain attached. "Audra, you need to leave. Now." She looked terrible. Hair disheveled, makeup smeared, clothes wrinkled like she'd been sleeping in them. "I just want 5 minutes with my son." "Then schedule it through the lawyers like you're supposed to." "The lawyers want to control everything. When I can see him, where I can see him, what I can say, he's my child. He's also a person with his own feelings and opinions, and right now, he doesn't want to see you. Because you've poisoned him against me. Because you lied to him for 4 months and then got caught." Ben stepped up beside me. "Mom, you need to go." She looked at him through the gap in the door, and her face crumpled. "Ben, please. I know I made mistakes, but I love you. If you loved me, you wouldn't have done what you did. It wasn't about you. It was about me and your father. It was about all of us." Ben's voice cracked with emotion. "Every time you lied about where you were, every time you came home late with some excuse, every time you looked us in the face and pretended everything was normal, that was about all of us. I was trying to protect you. You were trying to protect yourself. There's a difference." Audra pressed her face against the door frame, tears streaming. "I can't lose you too. I've already lost everything else." "You didn't lose anything," Ben said quietly. "You threw it away." That's when she snapped. "Fine," she screamed, stepping back from the door. "Fine. You want to hate me? Go ahead. But don't pretend this is all my fault. Your father drove me to this. Years of being married to someone with no ambition, no drive, no passion for anything. You think Colin was the first? You think this just started in March?" The words hung in the air like poison gas. "What?" I said. "You heard me. Colin wasn't the first. He was just the first one who mattered." Ben's face went white. "How many? Does it matter? 2? 3? Your father was so busy being comfortable, so content with his little analyst job and his tidy routine, that he never noticed his wife was wasting away from sheer boredom." "So you decided to entertain yourself," I said. "I decided to live, to feel something other than suburban mediocrity. And the lying? The sneaking around? The looking your son in the face every morning knowing you'd betrayed his trust? Was survival. You think I wanted to hurt Ben? You think I wanted to destroy our family? But I couldn't keep pretending to be happy in a marriage that was suffocating me." Ben stepped around me and faced her directly. "Then you should have gotten divorced. You should have been honest. You should have given Dad a chance to fix things or let him go find someone who wouldn't cheat on him. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. You chose to lie. You chose to cheat. You chose to keep lying even when you got caught. And now you're choosing to blame everyone else instead of taking responsibility. I am taking responsibility. No, you're making excuses, and you're trying to make us feel sorry for you because the consequences suck." Audra stared at her son, the 16-year-old who was speaking to her with more maturity than she'd shown in months. "I never meant for it to happen this way," she whispered. "But you did mean for it to happen," Ben said. "That's the point." She looked between us, her husband and her son standing together in the doorway of the house she could no longer enter, and something broke in her expression. "Fine," she said, backing toward her car. "Fine. You want to be a family without me? Go ahead. But don't come crying to me when you realize what you've lost." "We already know what we lost," I said. "We lost someone we thought we could trust." She got in her car and drove away, tires squealing on the asphalt. Ben and I stood in the doorway for a long moment, watching the taillights disappear down the street. "You okay?" I asked. "Are you?" "I will be." "Yeah," he said. "Me too." We went inside and called the police to report the broken window and the trespassing. Then we called Terry to document everything for the divorce proceedings. Later that evening, as we were cleaning up the glass and waiting for the window repair service, Ben looked up from his dustpan. "Dad?" "Yeah?" "I'm sorry she turned out to be someone different than we thought she was." "Me too, buddy. But I'm glad we found out now instead of later." "Why's that?" "Because now we know who we can count on." I looked at my son, this smart, resilient kid who'd handled his mother's betrayal with more grace than she'd handled getting caught, and felt something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. "Yeah," I said. "We do." 3 months later, the divorce was finalized. Audra got supervised visitation every other weekend, half the savings account, and her car. I got the house, primary custody, and the satisfaction of knowing that actions have consequences. She never did find another job in advertising. Word gets around in small industries, especially when someone's professional judgment has been publicly questioned. Last I heard, she was working retail at a department store in the suburbs. Colin Fletcher moved to Phoenix after his own divorce was finalized. His ex-wife got the house, the kids, and most of his retirement account. Ben started his senior year of high school with a new appreciation for honesty and a healthy skepticism about people who make promises they don't intend to keep. And me? I learned that sometimes the best networking happens when you connect with people who share your values, like loyalty, honesty, and the radical idea that your family should be able to trust you. Turns out networking really is everything.